I was thinking of finishing the series that we started a while back on Tefillah, and then I got this inspiring email. So I'm like, okay, that's it. We have to continue the series for a couple more times. Gewaldige email. Hi, Rabbi Wiesenwald. I need to write to you to let you know how much you have inspired me, especially after listening to your podcast on Tefillah, as that is something so close to me. My story is long, but I connected to Tefillah when I was 38. I am now 45. And to finally hear someone speak about Tefillah with all the halachas, I find it so heartwarming. I've been calling it out for a long time for there to be more talks on Tefillah. People should learn the basics halachas of Tefillah, which I find so many learned people just have no idea the halachas of Tefillah, and it really pains me, as I've spent many hours reading, listening, and learning about Tefillah, so much so that I haven't even been late for any Tefillah for nearly 5 years. I want to play your Tefillah podcast on a loudspeaker so everyone can hear it. I believe this is already a big statement. I believe all these tragedies happening to Klal Yisrael is because the lack of real tefillah amongst from people, and that it's also, I'm not saying, you know how they say this when they have like a magazine that has an advertisement and they're like, this advertisement does not reflect our opinion of things. I'm not saying anything about, this is a Chashvi that's writing this, happening to Klal Yisrael because the lack of real tefillah amongst from people, and that I believe we were all kicked out of shul during COVID, and I also believe that people that improve the next message from Hashem will be a lot tougher on us. Problem. All right, fine. It goes on and on and on and on as he writes over here. But a kid says, so he gave me a chizuk. He's like, wow, someone's enjoying the series on Tefillah. We've got Yitzi Sher sitting and listening to all the Shurim on Hilchos Tefillah, writing down all the halachas. So Lamaisa, so I figured, you know what, let's spend a couple more Shurim hopping around a few other halachas that maybe we didn't get to. I'm going to call them random, but chas v'shalom, they're absolutely not random. But they're random in the sense of there's no seder to them. Meaning we're not doing them in any specific seder. You're just going to come out with just random halachas in random order, but not chas v'shalom, random halachas, chas v'shalom. So a couple of halachas I want to mention is actually from the Sefer that I've quoted a few times, but I never actually mentioned anything specifically from the Sefer, and that is as follows. Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal has a beautiful, beautiful Mussar Sefer called Orchos Yosef. If I'm not mistaken, they translated the Art Scroll. You can get the Art Scroll English version of the Sefer. I don't know if this part of the Sefer is translated because I never saw the English version, but I have the Hebrew version. It's a small, black, thin Sefer, beautiful Mussar Sefer, and at the back of the Sefer, if I'm not mistaken, it's right at the end of the Sefer, he has one section, Kuv Tzadid Tes, where he writes, Kuv Tzadid Tov, where he writes, Dinei Tfilos, these of the halachas of davening, Sherabim Bezalzalim Bahen, that people are mezalzel. You always wonder, how do Reb Chaim Kanievsky know what people are mezalzel, right? He's sitting in his corner, led him in shul in Bnei Brak. He knew what people are mezalzel. I guess people came with him with different shilas, maybe, Benavua, Siyata Deshmaya, whatever it was. But he realized that people are mezalzel in the following halachas. And he said, either because they just simply don't know these halachas, and if you teach it to them, they'll keep it, or they're just being mezalzel, kalas roish, he calls it. So I want to mention some of the halachas that Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal brings in this section. He goes through many, many, many halachas. We're not going to all of them, but just a few things that he says that Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal said, people are mezalzel in these halachas because they simply don't know the halachas, or they're just, kalas roish, not keeping them. So let's go through some of them over here. Number one, and again, no specific order, Gimel. Mi sheyochel lovoy letfila bizmana. Somebody can show up to davening on time. He's up, he's around, he's available, he can show up to davening on time. He waits a bit. He doesn't want to be there in the beginning. Either they don't start on time, or if I was there at the beginning, I have to stay for the whole davening. Oh my gosh, it's going to take me forever this, right? So it's good to get there by, good shtibel. You get there by Yishtabach, and then you run out by Chris in a different minyan. Within 10 minutes, you finish the ganze minyan, right? So Chaim Kanievsky says over here that somebody that bedafka, we're not talking about like he woke up late, chas v'shalom, once a year. Could happen, a guy wakes up late. Could happen. A guy is available. Shachris, he's up. Mincha, he's around. He doesn't want to show up because, V'chein. Also, mi sheyotze be'emta tefillah. Somebody leaves, somebody leaves davening before it's finished. He leaves the middle. Either in the middle or before it's finished. He has no patience. I have no patience to wait till the end. I'm going to quote you. It's not my lashon. I would never say this. Reb Chaim Kanievsky writes this in the Sefer. I could show it to you. I have it photocopied over here. There is no greater bizayin to the avoid of the Rabbeinu Shalom greater than this. And he continues, by the way. Uki'ilu eino mamin sheshchina nimtzu bebeis hakneses b'shas hatfila. It's as if he doesn't believe that the Shechina is there in shul at the time of davening. Ve'er tiskabel tefillos, and how his tefillahs are being accepted. V'rayu kavod shemaim lahanded eze dakot koydem hatefillah v'kozul. Okay, he goes on and on over here. Yesh begam chilul Hashem. Whoa, chilul Hashem, by the way. You know what the Rambam says about chilul Hashem, right? The only thing really that you can get a kapara is misa. You can do tshuva, it's very nice, beautiful, but the real kapara only happens by shas hamisa. That's how bad a chilul Hashem. Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky says the yesh b'zeh gam chilul Hashem. Rabbi say, yeah, this is crazy. This is Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky that's so writing that if you're available and you're lazy, you show up late because it's easier for me, or you leave in the middle, or you leave before the end. Rabbi say, just remember those Lashonos from Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky. It's in Archas Yosha, Omid Kuf Aleph, if you want to look it up. Let's continue, Rabbi Yisai. Again, we're just going to go through a few things that I feel we should say to the Olam. Lamed Zayin, Ein Lachas HaTefillin. Okay, this is already a halach in Shulchan Aruch. Everybody knows the Simon Chof Hey. The Shulchan Aruch passes this way. It's not Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky's Chiddush, but sometimes when you say it b'shem Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, it's like, oh wow, it's the Shulchan Aruch. Oh, say that. So say it b'shem Rabbi Chaim, okay? Make everyone excited. Ein Lachas HaTefillin ad acha Kaddish shel Oleinu. You only take off your tefillin after the Kaddish of Oleinu. When the Kaddish is finished of Oleinu, that's when you take off your tefillin. Not only that, v'asa lachloit tefillin b'shas HaKaddish. I think we did this previously. We spoke about Kaddish, that a person can't do Melacha b'shas Kaddish, therefore you can't take off your tefillin at that time over there. But definitely wait until after the Kaddish of Oleinu. If there's no Kaddish, obviously, then after Oleinu. This we get. Aga, by the way, for those of you that are married, or if you are planning on Be'ez Hashem, B'Seyat Shmaya, B'Shad Tovim Mitzlachas, B'Korav Mamish, you should all get married, and you're going to have a talit, you're going to have a talis. Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, again, by the way, it's a bach, but again, it's exciting when you quote Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky. Yesh Le'Sat, it's like you tell these people, right? If tell them the Shulchan Aruch says, with Yeshua Paskin, they say, oh, really? Wow, they get excited. So here it is, Rabbi say, Yesh Le'Sat, B'Talis Ad Rosh Kol Zman HaTefillah. When you're wearing a talis, and you're supposed to wear a talis, then it's a skula for Yiras Shamayim, by the way, to wear your talis over your head the entire davening. Okay, also Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky brings that over here. Let's move on, Rabbi Sai. Another thing, I think we mentioned this before, but it's good to mention it again, talking about the idea of speaking b'shas chazoros hashatz, or even learning. This is Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky's lashon. I'm quoting you word for word, okay? Ready? V'haloimid oikoira ha-parsha b'shas chazoros hashatz v'kaddish. Someone wants to do Shnai Mikveh Targum. Now during Seder it's hard, I want to schmooze with my chavusa, I want to make a coffee, I want to go outside for a cigarette. Oh, but during Chazaras Hashatz, that's the perfect opportunity to learn do Shnai Mikveh Targum, right? Zot Reb Chaim Kanievsky, you do Shnai Mikveh Targum during Chazaras Hashatz or Kaddish, Loi Dai Shaloi Kabel Schar. It's not enough that you're not even getting reward for what you are doing. Right, you're actually getting punished. You're getting punished for doing Shnai Mikra in the middle of Chazaras Hashatz or Kaddish. Ve'efsha da'afiru di'eved lo yotza yedei Shnai Mikra. Could be even b'di'eved you're not yotza, so you have to go back again and do it again. Davi mitzvah haba va'aveira. It's a lashon of Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, by say. So that's talking about learning during Chazaras Hashatz and Kaddish. Talking, like seriously, come on. You're talking about learning, forget the Aveiras, and you're not getting a schar, and you're getting mitzvah above Aveira. Speaking during Chazaras Hashatz, during Kaddish, oy vavoy. Let's move on. Lamed Beis. Ba'ashrei v'letzion. Again, you see people walking around by Ashrei, right? Ashrei v'letzion. You should sit down. You're meant to be sitting down during Ashrei and Uva Letzion. Moving on, Rabbi Isai. Another halacha. Lamed Daled. Again, Aleinu, obviously you have to stand up. Seder. Rabbi said this one is gavaldik. This one I bought the Shulchan Aruch just because I wanted to mention the Mishabura. But he brings this one in Chav Tes. Hagoyim Shmoneh Esrei. You know these people, they finish Shmoneh Esrei, and when they're finished Shmoneh Esrei, they like to turn around and like observe the Olam to see what's going on. Okay, that's Asa. Okay? Hagoyim Shmoneh Esrei, Asa lo la'achzeh panav letzibur ad she'yigmar shatz, until the Shliach Tzibur has finished. Now, again, it's not Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky's Chiddush. He's just telling us things that the Olim are mezalzal. This is Mefurish Ramah. Kuf Chav Gimel Si Beis. Look it up. Yachid shemismar b'tzibur v'sim t'vidasai koydem l'shiach tzibur. So you have finished your private Shmoneh Esrei. Asur. Art scroll. Forbidden. La'achzeh panav letzibur ad she'sam shel tzibur t'vidasai. Don't turn around and start looking at people. Everyone does that, right? This is exactly what Chaim Kanievsky is talking about. People love turning around. Again, if you're sitting in the back, Shenish, right? You look at the wall. It's not so exciting. But if you're in the front, look at the olam. It's geschmack to see what the olam are doing. It's a Ramah. You're not allowed to do that. Why not? Look at the Mishnah Berurah. Again, there's different pirushim. I'm not going to go into everything there right now because we just want to mention a couple of things, right? But the Mishnah Berurah says clearly, Ki yigroim bezeh bittul kavona lemispalalim. As I pass to the Mishnah Berurah, you're turning around, apart from the fact, by the way, of the halacha of Daled Amos, which we spoke about previously. You can't walk in Daled Amos or sit in Daled Amos, or someone's davening Shemana Esrei. Walking around will be a problem because people are davening Shemana Esrei and you're coming within their Daled Amos. I'm not even talking about that. You're well past, you're no shaykhs their Daled Amos. But turning around, you're mevatel their kavana. That is an important thing. Moving on to Rabbi Say, Lamadalad, Reb Chaim over here goes through some of the places that a person has to know that he must stand during davening. I'll go through them very quickly, okay? You'll recognize them. Baruch Shama, Vayivarach David, until he gets to Ato Hashem Lakim. Yishtabach, obviously Shemana Esrei, Mitihillos from there. Kedusha, Birchos Kahanim, Oleinu, when they take out and put back the Sefer Torah until it goes back and stays at its place. Vuhu Rachum, Tachnun as well. Hallel, Mogin Avos, Vayichulu, Birchos HaChodesh, Vidoi, Kiddush Levana, V'yinoim B'motzah Shabbos. And that's what those are the things that he says. Again, they're all Mishnah Berurah, but again, obviously the things that Reb Chaim Kanievsky felt the Olam need. Let's just very quickly go through just two more little things over here. Very common shaila. A person's davening Shemana Esrei. Baruch Hashem, he has grocer kavana. It takes him a long time davening Shemana Esrei, and the Shliach Tzibur, the Chazan, has already started Shemana Esrei, right? His Chazoros Hashatz. Now the question is, I'm in the middle of my silent Shemana Esrei. What am I, if anything, allowed to stop for or say maybe during my private Shemana Esrei while the Chazan is now saying? Am I allowed to respond, or do I have to listen? Do I have to stop, or can I continue davening? So Shulchan Aruch says very clearly in Simuk of Dalet Siv Zayin, it is also to interrupt for anything during your personal Shemana Esrei. That means you're davening Shemana Esrei and you hear Kaddish, Baruch Hu, Kedusha, whatever it is, whether it's his minyan or another minyan, the only thing you have to do is pause, stop. Stop. You have to be, you're yotze shemei ka'ona, you're yotze by listening to the Shliach Tzibur, even though you're not saying anything, because you can't say anything, because you are in the middle of Shemana Esrei. At Kaddish, you pause to listen to Amen Yehi Shmei Rabbah until you spark over there. If a person already heard Kedusha, right, so he's in the middle of Shemana Esrei, he heard Kedusha and he'll hear later, he does not have to pause and listen to Kedusha of the Shliach Tzibur. Answering Kedusha during silent Shemana Esrei, if a person finished Machaya Mesim during your private silent Shemana Esrei, and now you hear another minyan saying Kedusha, you are actually allowed to say it along together with them. It's before Shulchan Aruch in Kuf Tesiv Gimel, but if you have custom and everything else, it could be a slightly different halacha. Moving on very quickly, Moedim D'Rabbanan, when the Chazan, when the Shliach Tzibur reaches Moedim, and you're still in the middle of your Shemana Esrei, obviously do not respond in that case, and you should bow together with the Tzibur, as long as unless you're in the middle of a bracha. If you're the beginning or the end of a bracha, then you should not be bowing. So make sure you're only bowing Moedim D'Rabbanan if you're in the middle of a paragraph as opposed to the beginning of a bracha, unless obviously it's the bracha of Moedim, which is fine. If you're davening your private Shemana Esrei and they say Birchos Kahanim, in the case, stop and listen between the brachas of Shemana Esrei. Don't obviously answer Amen, but if you reach Birchos Kahanim before Sim Shalom with the Shliach Tzibur, there are poskim that actually allow him to answer Amen to the psukim of Birchos Kahanim, not to the bracha, but to the Birchos Kahanim of there. Kriyas HaTorah, by the way, if you're in the middle of Shemana Esrei and they are starting to say Kriyas HaTorah, obviously if they call you up, you cannot accept an aliyah if they call you up, but you can, according to some poskim, pause and listen to Kriyas HaTorah if you will be unable to listen to it later. And last halacha to remember, Rabbi said, the Ramah says, Simonun Hey base, it is asur for a person to leave davening, right? Not what Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky told us before, but if there's not going to be a minyan, look around. If you're the 10th person, and by you leaving, you're going to cause there not to be a minyan, it is absolutely asur for a person. Not only that is asur, the Ramah, the Mishnah Berurah says, you're included in V'ozvei Hashem Yikalu, those who leave Hashem will be destroyed, if you are not leaving a minyan behind you. If you're leaving a minyan behind you, then avada, you've got Reb Chaim Kanievsky's thing that he spoke about, but not this exact thing over there. Okay, Rabbi Say, Mitzvah Hashem, we shall continue. Maybe one more share in Hilchos Tefillah. Have an amazing day.